What's up, Tsla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I wanted to break down what's happening with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm going to talk about why tomorrow is going to be a very important day as we have PCE data coming out, not to mention new developments on the charts. But just know that I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please check out my Moomoo link. If you deposit $100, you're guaranteed 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed 15 in total, not to mention 8.1% APY in uninvested cash. This offer ends very soon, in just about 11 days from now. Anyways, let's talk about what's happening to Tesla. Tesla got this big rejection yesterday after Jerome Powell and the Fed announced that they're going to be cutting rates less than initially expected over the next couple of years. And that is what shook the markets. Now, Tesla tried to rebound a bit today only to get another rejection, which is exactly what we predicted in my morning video. And now Tesla could attempt to try to push here, but we'll be watching to see if Tesla continues this trend of making lower highs. So if it tries to push here and makes a lower high, there could be a risk of it dipping again. But we haven't lost critical support at this 4-hour 50 EMA yet to turn super bearish. That has not happened yet to turn us down yet. So I can't turn extremely bearish quite yet. We have to wait and see. So I'll be talking about some key levels and what to watch for going into tomorrow. But let's first talk about Tesla news and then what's happening with the data that's super important for tomorrow. So there is some good news that's come out that Tesla is in early talks with authorities in the city of Austin, Texas, regarding autonomous vehicle technology, according to Bloomberg News. This is a good piece of news for them because Tesla is trying to expand its usage and its overall studies of FSD in particular areas, especially in like California and Texas, which is where Tesla is like more involved. I think that's some good news for them because it's going to help them improve it in a lot of different ways. Tesla has not said a whole lot about this, didn't really, respond to requests to comment quite yet. But by bringing in more autonomous technology and studying more features, this could help improve the safety of FSD and improve it more and more. And that's what they tend to do, like focus on one or two cities. Obviously, Tesla is going to be better when it comes to using FSD in areas like Palo Alto, California, Fremont, where their gigafactories happen to be in like areas that are very in a very, very close proximity to where their gigafactories are and areas like that. But I just wanted to say that this is great news because they're going to continue to improve FSD. And I think that it's very awesome to see that. They also will allow Tesla to like scale to different areas a lot more and a lot more effectively if they do that. On top of this, there's been some news about how when it comes to their new products, they're trying to look at a potential expansion of the Model Y. Reports are talking about how Tesla could be giving us a refresh of the Model Y Juniper, and it could be starting as soon as next year. Some sources say they're going to start mass production in China next year, but I just want to say this. There's no confirmation yet from Tesla. I do believe that Tesla could do this, and I think that there have been a lot of talks about that, but nothing is guaranteed quite yet until Tesla confirms it. Tesla did say that they're not planning on expanding this and giving us a refresh this year, but this year is about to end in just a couple of weeks. So maybe next year it could happen. But we're waiting to see if Tesla gives us that confirmation. So just keep that in mind. For other pieces of news, just know this. As far as Tesla and SPY go, I'm going to first talk about Tesla and SPY. Tesla has a max pain of 370, which doesn't really matter as much. I don't see us dipping that far in one single day unless something really bad happens. But when it comes to the options chain, we have a very mixed options chain. So it's like in the middle with a little bit more puts expiring. But for SPY, we have a 580 max pain tomorrow with a 2.23 put to call ratio. There are obviously a lot more puts expiring, but max pain's at 580, so it is more beneficial to get us to close there, depending on if the number ends up changing tomorrow or not. So it could go either way with all the option expirations, but whether or not the move comes depends on some important factors. Now, Tesla has another outperform rating from Baird, despite what we saw coming out. This is still being maintained right now. I think that's a good piece of news. The price-price ratio is dipping a bit because Tesla has been losing a little bit of strength. And then historically, Fridays tend to be green about 49% of the time. We also tend to see more volatility at 11 o'clock a.m., 1 p.m., then about 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Besides that, I'm not seeing anything else that's too crazy, at least on the news. Now, I just want to say that as far as Tesla's going, Tesla has kind of shifted away from what it was doing before. Before, Tesla was greatly outperforming the market, looking very, very strong, whereas the market was like stuck in a channel. Tesla was very strong. Now, what's happening is Tesla's moving with the market, starting to slow down a bit, and this is no surprise after all the upside we saw. I also want to say that this is going to be dependent on some factors. So we'll see if Tesla continues a bigger downtrend or not, depending on these key levels. But I'll talk more about that in just a minute. I just want to say that for tomorrow, there's gonna be big data coming out that's gonna be dictating how Tesla and the broader market moves. So that's why I want to focus on that part. The market was more flat today. We did see some tech stocks like Apple and Nvda attempting to rebound, but I would say it was more mixed because we saw Microsoft somewhat in the red. Same thing with Meta, and then we saw Amazon in the green, Tesla in the red, and very very mixed stocks right now. The ETFs are still showing some weakness. Like if you look at the QQQ, if you look at like SPY, ES, and the others, we are still starting to show some weakness. So please keep that in mind. Now, whether or not the weakness perpetuates depends on what's happening tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be Friday, December 20th, 2024 at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, which is 1 hour before market open. We have the PCE data report coming out. This is going to be very important, so make sure you pay very close attention to this. So as far as PCE data goes, okay, we're expecting core PCE month over month to be around 0.2 to 0.3%, the same as before. And then PCE for all items month over month, we're expecting 0.2 to 0.3%, the same as before. However, for PCE year over year, we're expecting a 2.5% rate, which is a little bit higher than what we got previously. And then for PCE on the core side, year over year, we're expecting 2.9%, a slight increase. So we're expecting a slight increase for core and all items PCE on a year over year basis. But for the month over month, we're expecting essentially the same numbers. Now, just know we also have Michigan consumer sentiment data at 10 a.m., which doesn't really cause too much volatility usually. So the main time for volatility is at 8:30 a.m., an hour before market open. Just know this about PCE. It's coming out for the month of November. It's another very important inflationary measure that the Fed tends to use a lot more for their data collection and analysis. But we got CPI already, and unfortunately, CPI was looking a little bit hot the last time it came out for the month of November. There was a slight increase by over, I think this was about like 0.1% on a month over month basis, or for at least a 12-month change for all items. And then core was essentially the same. So there was a slight increase that happened. We'll have to see if we get the same thing with PCE. I believe that there is going to be an increase in PCE on a year over year basis, but I don't know the full extent. Will it just be a slight increase, or is it going to be even higher than that? If it's higher, that's going to be a lot more bearish. If it's aligned with expectations, anything could happen. And if it's below, that's going to be a bit more bullish. So I'll be watching to see what happens with this data. Please be very, very careful. The last time CPI came out, it was hot, so that does raise some red flags about this. So please be very careful. Now, when it comes to more data, we had Nike and FedEx announcing earnings. Just to be very brief, Nike had decent earnings. Their revenue was at about $12.4 billion above expectations of $12.1 billion. But at the same time, I would say that we did have something better. So their EPS was at 78 cents per share. That was above the expectations of 63 cents. Not bad. And their guidance was decent. Then we had FedEx announce their earnings. What really helped them soar is the fact that they announced that they're going to be spinning out their freight business. Not bad whatsoever. This is what investors wanted. And then their EPS was at $4.05 per share above expectations of $3.98, with $22 billion for its fiscal second quarter. That was once again above expectations. They did cut their full year guidance just a little bit, expecting $19 to $20 a share for EPS for the fiscal 2025, a little bit below the $20 to $21 range. Not bad though. The fear and greed index right now for the markets is very fearful. There's a lot of fear right now. People are scared about the fact that the Fed is announcing they're going to be cutting rates a little bit less for the next couple of years. Momentum is extremely fearful as we're getting closer to the 125 daily moving average. The put to call option ratio is going up because there's a lot more put buying. There's more shorting going on in the markets right now. And the VIX is on a bit of a breakout, so that tends to be more bearish. Anyways, that is enough with all this data. Let's now just focus on what's happening with these charts. So what do I think about the market? And just know this, in my videos from yesterday, I was talking about how Tesla was at all-time highs, but then to watch and see what the Fed would cause. And ever since the Fed has come out, we're seeing a shift in the trend. So before, it's very simple. Tesla was making higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. Now there's a sign that we got this big red bar, big rejection, and we've just made a lower low here, lower high, and we could be making a lower low followed by a possible lower high. So going into tomorrow, look for resistance around this 445 area. If that breaks, look at 450, and then we have this like high over here very close to about 457. If we get back above 460, I could turn a little bit more bullish on Tesla. And if we reject somewhere between 445 and 450 in that range, and we make a lower high compared to this one, then we could be turning back down for essentially 420. If we lose 420 to 419, that's going to be where our 50 EMA is. There's going to be a risk of Tesla dumping to the lower 400s, so please keep that in mind. The daily chart of Tesla shows a little bit more weakness, but nothing's confirmed unless we lose 420. I'm going to say this. Tomorrow, we should attempt to rebound in the morning. Tesla loves to do that, even like how it did today, and look for an attempt to get back up towards 450 or so. Now, this will also depend on the PCE data reports, so we'll have to see what this leads to. Keep in mind, I'm not really a fortune teller. I can't make any promises. And if Tesla keeps this push up and we break 460, I will turn more bullish. If we come short and hit like the low 450s and reject, then I will be expecting us to dip right back down towards the levels from today, towards the lower 430s, and eventually even 420. So I hope that's as clear as possible. Look for a rebound in the morning. And we'll have to see how high we go. There's a chance that given this trend, the fact that we're making lower highs, we might make a lower high here, then start to dip back down. And there's going to be a risk of 420 or below on Tesla looking at this chart. I just want to say the trend is shifting, so please keep that in mind. And we'll have to see what happens after that. So please be very, very open-minded. Another thing that could slow Tesla down is the whole market. So if you look at SPY, for example, the 4 hours showed this big rejection. We came back up off our 200 EMA only to reject again. So it's showing some weakness right over there because of that. It failed to hold above our key resistance at 591. And then if you look at the daily on SPY real quick, you'll see that we have this giant gap down here to fill, but we have to lose 584 to get there. So we could, if we break past 590 off a good PCE report, we turn more bullish. If we don't, we're looking for 584 as our main support. If we don't hold that, this is going to be favoring that gap fill for 576. I'm favoring that we might be looking for a dip to 584, and we'll have to see if we break that for confirmation. If we do that, if we close below that, there's going to be a risk of even more downside. So please keep that in mind. So in my opinion, I think that tomorrow we do favor downside a little bit more, looking at the fact that we got another rejection on SPY and the weakness on the daily and the 4 hours. But just for confirmation, we have to see if we lose 584 to turn more bearish. So watch and see what happens with the data just to be safe. ES looks more bearish. If we reclaim at 5960, we're looking for 5980 as our target. Then 6,000. If we get back above 6,000, we turn bullish. If we're bearish, you want to see it lose 5,900 flats. And if that fails us, we have a gap to fill to about 5,880. This is favoring downside because if you look at this, we got two bearish candlesticks, one big red one, and then a rejection again today. So we are favoring the lower 5,900s to be coming very soon as the most likely possibility, but this depends on the PCE data. I am a bit concerned about Nvda because we're consistently making lower highs over and over again. And then on the 4-hour time frame, we are holding below our key EMAs. Look at our EMAs, the 50 EMA, the 20, we're just rejecting over and over again. After the data comes out, if we break 133, look for 136 on Nvda. If we can't hold 133, we're looking for a dip back down to 128 or so. As of right now, we did not do a good job at holding above that. That makes me a little bit more concerned. And if the data comes out hot, if we get a hotter inflationary report tomorrow, that could cause Nvda to dip lower for 128. So please keep that in mind. We are so far, as of right now, at the time of recording this, we're rejecting off our EMAs again, and we're not doing the best of jobs so far at holding above them, in my opinion. For Bitcoin is trying to hold 96,300 at the 200 EMAs or support. It may attempt to rebound for 98,000, but if we get a rejection, then it could be revisiting those lows again. So look for a bounce right here as we're at supports back up to about the 98,000s. And if we reject, we're going to be making a move back down towards the lower levels, such as 97,000. So please keep that in mind, guys. There is some risk of downside on that chart. For NQ, there's some weakness right here, especially because we have, I believe, a gap. I'm going to double check that gap. So there is technically, actually, there's not necessarily a gap. It's going to be our 50 EMA. So I apologize about that. There's no gap. But I think that the daily could be looking for a test of 20,050 flat. I'll look for a rebound for, a very, very small rebound if we could try to get back above to 21,500 in the early pre-market. And if we get a rejection, then this could just continue to dip to the lower 21,000. So just be careful, as there's going to be a risk of downside on NQ. For the QQQ, we are making lower highs. We got a big rejection, came back up, continues to reject. And the issue with the QQQ is the fact that we did not do a good job at holding above 520. If we're bullish tomorrow, let's reclaim 520. Then yes, I will be favoring upside. If we can't do that, we're favoring a move down to fill this gap towards 509 to 508, which is where our 50 EMA happens to be. So I think we favor a pop and maybe a dip lower, and this gap fill could take us down towards the 509 area. For Apple, we're looking a little bit weaker here. We're contracting on the 4-hour time frame. We could be looking for essentially 252 as our resistance, and we'll have to see how it goes from here. But if we end up losing 250, we could be dipping all the way down for 247. So look for a rebound and a dip right here, and I think that 247 could be coming to Apple. We're very indecisive right now, and there's a slight downtrend here, but it all depends on PCE data, so we'll have to give it some time. Now, for others out there, guys, I think that this video has limited time left, so I'm going to try to be a little bit quick, so just bear with me in case I talk kind of fast. For Netflix, just know that we're showing some weakness right here. We are technically on a downtrend, but look for a test of 911 tomorrow. If we could break 911, we turn more bullish. If we come short of 911 and we reject, we're looking for a move back down towards 890. For now, it is at some tough resistance, especially at these EMAs. It is showing some signs of rejection. So it might see a dip here back down to 890, but just to be safe, we'll watch for confirmation. Might be a small dip, so watch for that. On MSTR, we look a little bit weaker. Now, we are at the 200 EMA at 326, which is the main support. We could attempt to rebound for 340 or so, but the issue is that there's a strong downtrend, a lot of bearish momentum, and we do have some gaps to fill below. So I think that there's a possibility that this could see a small rebound and a rejection and dip lower all the way down towards lower levels, such as like the 320 range. So be careful with that. For Celsius, we are on a bit of a downtrend. We could attempt to rebound back up for essentially the 28s, but then we could reject and start dipping lower after that. So just be careful. So look for an attempt to push back up towards the 28s, and then we'll be careful to see if this makes a lower high or not. But I do expect a little bit more upside. I think that we could be approaching just under 29, and we'll see if we reject or not. But look for a little bit of a bounce. For Supermicro, we look more bearish. We're losing the low right here. So there's going to be a risk of us coming down towards 28. Looking at the fact that this is rejecting. Palantir's looking strongest. We're holding support as long as we don't lose 74.02 then 72.36. This is favoring a push for 75.8. So I think this looks a little bit more bullish. For Rivian, we're trading sideways right here. We have this resistance around this 13.25 area, and we have support down here around 12.8. So it is looking a little bit weaker because we had a high here, came down, made a lower high. But look for a rebound tomorrow for the low 13s, and if it rejects and fails to hold later, there's going to be a risk of us dipping towards like 12.5. So just keep that in mind. For SoFi, we're making lower highs here. This could continue to dump. If 15 fails us, we're looking for a dip back down to about 14.8. So look for a rebound and a dip back down to 14.8, and we'll have to see how it goes. For the IWM Russell 2000, we're making lower highs right over here. If we can't reclaim 220, we could be dumping all the way down towards 217.5 or so. So look for some more downside on the IWM Russell 2000. AMD looks a little bit more bearish right here as we're making lower highs off our 20 EMA. So this could be favoring a dip down to about 218 to 217.5. So it looks weaker. We have to reclaim 124. I'm sorry, did I say 225? Sorry, guys. We have to reclaim 124. If we can't do that, we're looking for 117.5 as a potential target. So sorry about that, guys. Look for the 100s, not the 200s. For ARM, we're on a bit of a downtrend right here. There could be like a falling wedge-like structure, but I just want to say I could see this continue to dip closer to about this like 130 area before it attempts to get some kind of bounce. Depends on PC, but there is some weakness. Coin is at support at this 273 area, so it might attempt a rebound. But if we don't reclaim at least 290, this could be just making a lower high and continue to dump. So it depends on that trend. I also want to mention that the daily has support at 272. If that fails us, we have a lot of gaps to fill down below. So if 270 fails us, we're looking for 250. We may rebound a bit, then continue to fall. So just watch that very, very closely. Amazon on the daily chart is looking weaker. We could be once again slowing down. I want to call out that if you look at the 4-hour time frame, we had a high here. We came down. We had a lower high. If we can't hold above 224, there's going to be a risk of us dipping down to fill the gap for 220. So I do see a risk of this gap getting filled if we can't reclaim at least 224. Tomorrow, it might attempt to do that, but if we can't hold above that, then there's going to be a risk of us falling here. So just be careful on the 4-hour. On Meta, I'm seeing a weakness on the 4-hour, especially because we have a lot of gaps to fill on the daily chart. There's a gap down here, and there's also another one over here, so just be careful with that. Daily looks weaker, so just be careful. Just know that if we can't hold above 600, I do expect 586 or so than the next gap fill. If 590 fills us, then look at 586 just to be more precise, but there is some weakness on Meta. Microsoft is showing some weakness. We need to reclaim at 440 then 442. If not, if we come short, we're looking for a dip closer to about 433. Google's also rejecting here. We're looking for a move to 188. We'll have to see if we break past that or not. I think it might be testing 188. We have to bounce. If we can't hold 188, I think we test it tomorrow. It depends on if 188 holds or not. If we can't hold it, we dip down towards 184. And if that fills us, we have a giant gap to fill. So just keep those levels in mind. With that being said, just to be real quick, GameStop might be retesting 28.29 tomorrow. We'll have to see if that holds. Otherwise, it dips towards 27.5. AMC may be dipping to 4 flat. DJT, I think that we could be looking for something very similar on it. DJT might be retesting 34.63, so just keep that in mind for a small dip. The VIX is looking more bullish right now. It's trying to break out, so this could be favoring a lot more upside, which tends to be bearish for the markets. The 10-year Treasury yield is looking more bullish. This also tends to favor downside for the markets. It's bullish because of the fact that the Fed announced they're going to be cutting rates less than initially expected. And then the dollar is getting launched by that as well. So the dollar is looking bullish, which tends to be bearish for the markets. So we're getting lots of confluence that suggests that the market may have more downside potential. Nothing is confirmed yet until we get our PCE reports. So for tomorrow, in the morning, there might be an attempt to push on Tesla, so make sure you guys watch for that carefully. Look and see how we react to about 445, if not, like around 450. And if we continue this trend, we're making lower highs right here. If we can't break this high up here around the 457 to 460 range, we could make a lower high, then continue to reject and start dipping. So just keep that in mind that the 420s are another possibility. Yes, the market could shift in a flash, so please be very, very open-minded about that. And we'll see what happens with the data coming out for tomorrow. With that being said, I thank you all so much for listening. So please have a good rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow before the market opens to give you guys another update. Until then, I wish you all the best and peace out.